It may not feel as if the Cowboys are in a win-it window right now, and I completely understand why anybody would feel that way. Trust me. If there's anybody that resonates with that, it's me at this point. I've come around in that regard. So the focus of today's video is going to be obviously around the win-it window, but with two particular caveats that I want to make sure that we highlight. Okay. One is the importance of the defensive tackle position in free agency. I'm going to explain why, if you think that you're going to continue to try and address that position only in the draft, you're in big trouble. Foolish. It would probably be the best way to characterize that. And secondly, as you saw on my Instagram post from this morning, we're going to find out how serious the Cowboys are about winning at or prior to the March 12th, 4 p.m. deadline, Central Time, when the new league year officially begins. And why that is, I'm going to let you know here in just a couple seconds, right after this. I want to start with the defensive tackle position, and then we'll get to what I just teased shortly after that. Okay. But first, we got to agree and understand why the Cowboys actually are in a win-it window. All right. And I have two, I guess, evidential claims that support that sentiment, if you will. And the first is that they're getting ready to have three players at premium positions on max extensions. And if you're reading between the tea leaves here, then you just got a clue as to what the second part, the teaser of this whole project is about. Secondly, is they now have a head coach who was also previously in-house that is tied directly to the contract extensions of the two aforementioned offensive players, and potentially the same one that we would like to think would be the third prior to March 12th at roughly 4 p.m. So 4-year contract extensions. Brian Schottenheimer, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons. Oh, I just spilled the beans. There you go. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and eventually Micah Parsons. Maybe a 5-year deal, considering that's what Nick Bosa just signed last year. We'll see. So DT, I want to try to sum this up in the simplest form so that people can really understand why I'm coming from where I'm coming from, because I do have a tendency to ramble. So please forgive me in advance for that. Defensive tackle, okay? Spend big in free agency there this year if you're serious about winning. Why? Well, grown man, highly technical, against other grown men, the grownest of men, the rarest of men on this planet. That is 300-plus pound men who are athletic enough, smart enough, and love football enough to play in the trenches in the National Football League on the game's highest stage. Man, I was kind of spitting right there, huh? Sorry about that. I'm not sorry at all. So grown men, highly technical. As a result of those two things, it brings us to the third, which means it takes a very long time, usually longer than most other positions, to translate from high school to college, college to pro. Texas fans know this as well as anybody. Putting guys into the league that are third and fourth year players that are relative unknowns to the surface level sports fan community, or otherwise, even the draft community especially, is considered there because they're hyper focused on each player from an individually speaking within the top 100 of their boards for the most part before that draft eligible season begins. But just think about the laundry list of names of guys that you had never heard of before that burst onto the scene 3, 4, sometimes even 5 years into their college career. And then the same thing happens as they make the jump from college to pro. It takes time. The amount of men that are 300 plus pounds that are highly technical, also high IQ enough and love the sport of football to prepare to the level required to perform at this level, they're so few and far between. So those guys, not only are they already rare, the ones that are actually really good at what they do, they're just even more rare because of their level of preparation that's required. Okay, so but the fourth thing to this whole defensive tackle discussion, and I guess we'll just consider it to be five after this. So there's two more points that I want to make about why it's such a difficult thing to find a plug and play guy in the draft and then just have him impact your team in year one. The numbers game, right? You're almost always outnumbered on the defensive line than you are on the offensive line. So in most cases, it's 5-on-4. Most cases. Some cases it's 6-on-5. Add a tight end. Some cases it's 7-on-6. Two tight end sets. You walk an extra linebacker or safety down if you want to. So you have four linemen. Most cases, four linemen are lined up against five offensive linemen. And a lot of times those tackles on each side is getting chip help from either the running back or the other H back across the formation, one of the tight ends, you name it, even a receiver oftentimes in motion. If you're the Rams or one of those Kyle Shanahan tree teams that love to condense the formation and use those, those slot receivers as tight ends in a lot of ways, then you're getting help and you're getting chipped and you're getting double teamed. Right? So it's very difficult already to play in the trenches up front for the reasons that I've just discussed, but just using your imagination a little bit here, walking with me, the defensive tackle room, it's even more difficult because not only are you trying to wrestle one dude that checks all those rarity boxes, but you're having to fight two at the same time. So it's just, if you're not perfect, you're in trouble. And even if you are, you still might not win, right? So I hope that makes sense. So in other words, you take a guy that's a proven product that's already had that acclimation period, is already into his full grown man, or as Voch Lombardi likes to say, his peanut butter body, is already developed, is already highly technical, is still young, and is still not, going to break the bank. Go get a guy. Spin big up front on the defensive side of the ball, really in the middle, not necessarily up front. In free agency. And this is a really deep defensive tackle draft class. Then go add another piece to it with your draft capital to continue bolstering that spot so that you're not always in this position every season. So I'm not saying don't draft a guy. I'm just saying don't do what the Cowboys do and use one of their three main pillars of team building and expect to not only improve but bolster that position and substantially improve it by just merely attempting to address that position with one of the three biggest phases, which is the draft and develop approach. Cowboys fans know this. You should. Look at Mozzie Smith. Okay, it's taking some time. Maybe dealt an unfair hand in his rookie season. We can talk about that all night, and I probably would argue in that case, but that's not the purpose of this project here. But what I need you to understand is everything that I just mentioned, okay? It just takes a very long time for them to translate. So in other words, you got to go get a guy, all right? And Osa Odighizuwa would be a fantastic place to start. He's a 3-tech. Now, you still need a 1-tech in my opinion, but those guys that don't bring a ton of pass rush to the table, which Osa clearly does, like the Cowboys still need a run stopper, but the guys that aren't bringing the pass rush to the table are much easier to find because the guys that can also do both things, they're more highly sought after. So that's why you're going to hear names like Walter Nolan all over the place because he's a guy that can do both, and he flashes big in both the run and the pass game departments at the defensive tackle spot. So you're going to have to go and draft one. But if you're going ahead and spending big in free agency and meeting Osa at the negotiation table with the intention of paying him what he's worth, which is somewhere in the $25 million ballpark, then do it. And don't tell me that you don't have the money, because I'll prove you wrong in that regard too. And I'll keep calling you out. You can easily create the money. You can easily make the money work. I'm not going to waste y'all with the same exact spiel over and over and over again, week in, week out. But I will keep preaching it for as long as it needs to be said, just not necessarily today. Make sure I got all my points here. Also, just, I guess, further context for that sentiment, I believe it was Paul Hembekides, one of ESPN's producers. He did a study recently, I think back in 2024. You guys can go find this article. He basically touched on, or the 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 project of on his behalf was the bust rates at each position in the first round of every position from 2000 to 2019. Every position taken. And defensive tackle was like 10th on the list. If you account for running backs, so the hit rate is what he was looking at. So meaning at which position, or for every position, which one had the highest hit rate in terms of guys that signed their second contract with the team that drafted them. So, in other words, Micah Parsons, which is going to help us transition into the second part of this video here. Assuming he signs his contract extension, and hopefully in this case prior to the March 12th, the 4 p.m. deadline, then he would be considered a hit, which he obviously is, regardless of that, right? That was a successful take. But the way that he characterized this study is that the guys that reached their second contract with the team that drafted them in the first round, dating back to 2000, it was between 2000 and 2019. Running back was actually below defensive tackle on his list of guys that were that the hit rate that re-signed, but there's a very specific reason for that. And to me, it still doesn't it's a non-qualifier, because running back is the lowest half-life in all of sports and the most oft injured position in all of sports. So those guys can hit, but still be ran into the ground and then just kicked to the curb after 4 years. Like, teams are they've understood the tread at that position. It wears out quickly. Look at Zeke Elliott. Just another Cowboys example. So running back is a non-qualifier for me. That doesn't, I'm not going to, like, that just, to me, just you apply logic to the situation, okay? Defensive tackles, they're not, it's not a more of a hit. They don't hit higher or more often than running backs do. They just don't. Running back transitions seamlessly and almost instantly. It's the quickest transition, but also the shortest half-life. It just sucks. That's the way that it is. That's why there's, as good as Ashton Genty is, there's going to be people that push back on that take if and when that is the case, which I think it should be. But they'll push back on that because the value of the position. Nothing more, nothing less. That simple. They don't care who it is. They'll tell you first round capital. And I was once this guy, by the way, in the first round. Or I guess really inside the top 15, like a premium first round pick. When this year there's, most people will tell you they've got 13 real actual first round grades. So DT translates very slowly. That's all we have to know. There's plenty of evidence, even beyond what I've just stated, that validates that point, that argument. Okay, so as of right now, and Stephen Jones is candidly saying that he is actively working with Osa Odighizuwa's agency on getting a deal done. He didn't stutter when he said this. He didn't hesitate when he said this. And I'll pull up one of my tweets here just to help you guys understand exactly what I'm talking about and know what I'm saying and seeing. Where are we at here? Let's go this. So you'll see this picture here from Brandon Louis. Brandon Louis posted this. It's a picture from Osa Odighizuwa's IG account. He says, "Glad to have you in my corner, bro, with a picture of him standing next to his agent, throwing up just like the the homie sign, the chill sign, whatever you want to call that. It's the backwards hook'em for those who are driving right now and can't see this. So some people took that in negative context when he said, "Glad to have you in my corner." I mean, I can understand where you could get to, like, why you may take that negatively. I could see that. You could interpret it as glad to have you in my corner, as if the Cowboys aren't. But that's not how I took it, because Osa looks very happy. He looks at peace. He looks content, right? They both sort of have this, we just did that, like, kind of grin on their face. To me, like I said, the way I interpreted this, and I mentioned this to Brandon, I quoted his tweet because I respect his work. So I said, I don't take anything negative from this. There was no pie or stutter in Steven's voice whatsoever when he mentioned, being engaged in these discussions with Osa and his team. But there's a separate negotiation with a player on the same D line that'll be significantly more telling from my perspective, which leads me directly into this right here. Make sure y'all can hear this. Micah Parsons. If the Cowboys extend Micah Parsons before March 12th at approximately 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, then we'll know that they're serious about winning. If they don't, then it would be fair to assume that they're still only serious about headlines. So why does the March 12th deadline at 4 p.m., why is that such a powerful indicator of the Cowboys being aggressive or not, or caring about winning or not? Well, because as of that time on that date, the salary cap situation as it's reflected prior to that point is essentially a lock. That's what you got to know. So as of today, once again, if the season began today, if March 12th were today, Micah Parsons would count, according to Spotrac. Let's get that pulled up here. $24 million against the Cowboys salary cap. You guys will see that right here. So that changes. There it is right there. That changes it goes from $24 million on the books to roughly 6 or 7 if they really wanted it to. They could take a portion, and just the extension, the added years of the contract gives them the flexibility to move his money around. Okay, void years equals financial flexibility. The salary cap is fake. It's real tomorrow, but it's fake today. You can do whatever you want to free up money, however you want. It's an accounting principle. Okay. So that's kind of what it's a re-emphasis there. Right. So Micah Parsons, if he's extended, and just to be clear, folks, who for those of us who aren't familiar and have just been kind of checked out with apathy, rightfully so, against this team and this organization, kind of mailing it in, just waiting until draft day to kind of see where things sit, and you just kind of checked out until training camp. Micah Parsons has already said that he'd be willing to take less to get this deal done sooner, so that the Cowboys can be more aggressive. He's directly addressed everything I'm saying. So this is not me. This isn't conspiracy Lando here. I'm telling you exactly what's happening and the reality of the situation. Don't let Stephen Jones fumble bum his way around a sentence when he's doing everything he can to not say the words salary cap when David Moore catches him in Indianapolis as they're going through their team meetings or whatever you call it. When every owner is meeting there, a little bit early, they're kind of going over the competition committee. There you go. Don't stop letting Stephen Jones convince y'all that there's some sort of restriction, the team building restriction as it relates to what the league says they can or cannot spend this year. Because there's not. I've already proven that. Go to my Instagram account, go to my Twitter account, and you can find the videos. Just scroll over to media, scrub through there, and it's right there. Just scroll down maybe one page, and you'll see it. It'll be in the second column of my Instagram page at the Lando Show of how they can create $100 million. 5 easy moves, they can easily create 85. Only one of those moves requires any sort of negotiation, and that's the one that we just talked about. Extending Micah Parsons. That requires negotiation. But he's already telling you, hey, look, I'll take less. Just make sure that you go and do what I am taking less for, basically, is what Micah's saying. So do it. If you're serious about winning, then do it. And so furthermore, why would the Cowboys not be serious about winning? And why would it indicate that they're more serious about headlines if they don't do it before then? Because if they wait until August, again, like they did with CD last year, or September, again, like they did with Dak last year, the media eats it up. And especially the fake take networks on TV, they eat it up even more. It's ratings, it's views, it's clicks, it's money in the pockets of the most valuable sports franchise in the world. The Dallas headline Cowboys. If they wait, then it's safe to assume that that is what they are doing. They are creating headlines. If they do it now, prior to March 12th at 4 p.m., they're serious about winning and about spending. Doing the things that the championship level organizations in recent history are doing, like the Eagles, like the Niners. And yes, I know they haven't participated or they haven't won a Super Bowl, but they've participated in one, and they've also participated in a couple of NFC championships. Those teams are liquidating percentages of their ownership to spend to venture capitalists. They're selling portions of their ownership to liquidate their investments and have cash on hand to spend, because free agent signings, guys, that's what you guys have to understand. What I probably should do a better job of teaching. Free agent signings is cash payables for all of my accounting people out there, my technical terminology people. It's cash payables instantly. That signing bonus, boom, straight to Osa's bank account. I'd be doing this too if I was him next to his agent. That's what this is about. I think I've gone on long enough. 24 minutes in now. That's about on par. Surely I've missed something, but we'll cover that either tomorrow or in a maybe we'll go live again tonight. We'll see. But with that, make sure you guys tell somebody where to find me if they want to know the truth. The Sports Below the Surface. By the way, I'm Lando from the Lando Show, and this is Sports Below the Surface. The truth for the true fan like you that deserves it. None of that fake take stuff. We don't do that here. No surface level stuff. We don't do that here. We try not to. Anyway, some of it's inevitable. Tell a friend where to find me. Subscribe because it's free and it helps me out. Continues to grow the platform. 75,000 people and counting. I cover the Cowboys and the Longhorns, but more specifically, sports below the surface. Eventually, we'll expand there. Right now, I got 2 days a week to work unimpeded. Still a full-time father outside of that of those days. That's what we got. Okay. Remember, prayer changes things, and the war's already won. Talk to you guys tomorrow.